Right, let's talk about being an academic bum sweat. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. So, in my GCSEs in the summer of 2021, I managed to get 9 9s and an 8. And in old speak, that's 9 A-star stars and an A-star. Very, very sweaty. I was pleasantly shocked on results day, I'm not going to lie to you. But I think, personally, there are a few things that I did in the months leading up to my exams that massively contributed to the results that I got. And in this video, I will outline the techniques that I used that I think helped me along the way. So, you know, if you've got exams coming up, this video should be pretty helpful. Before we begin, we have to discuss a very important point, and that is that you actually have to want to do well. You can't just think, right, I'm going to get sick exam results so that my parents will rate me, or because that's what I'm supposed to do, or that'll impress people. Yeah, you have to have a direct reason to do with you. I mean, I guess if you want to impress people, that's a why that you can use. For me personally, it was showing myself that if I commit to something, put time in, do it consistently over a long-term period, then I can be successful. Your why could be, you know, for a job you want to do in the future, for the college course that you want to do, if you want to go do A-levels or an apprenticeship or whatnot, or just to prove yourself that you're great and to prove to someone that thought you weren't great that you are great. I mean, that's brilliant as well. There's a power in proving someone wrong, you know. Every time you think, you know what, I don't want to study today, you can see that and think, this is why I'm doing this. You have to make it something that you can stick to over a long period of time, something that feels natural, so you don't have to rely on motivation to complete your studying. It's just something that you do, something that you're used to. I revised at the same time every day, but a few days a week. I didn't revise, 7 days, because that's just crazy. So I did it, an hour or two, 5 days a week, and I stuck to it consistently. It was after breakfast when I was in the holidays, and when it was in school time, it was sort of evenings, same time. I was in the same zone, in the same place, doing the same thing, and eventually it became normal. It just felt like something that I did. I didn't require motivation, I didn't force myself through. It just became something that I did. Now, once you have a good why, and you've made studying somewhat of a habit in your life, we can actually talk about revision tips. Everyone's favourite thing to talk about, isn't it? So, let's begin. Now, my first piece of boring revision advice is that you should make easy to access and understandable revision resources. That can be in the form of a flashcard or a mind map, or anything else that you can think of, to be honest, but they're the main two that I did. Just take the content that you're learning, hopefully you do this while you're learning the subject in class, and create a simple, easy to understand revision resource that you can come back to and learn from, instead of having to rifle through textbooks and things like that, because that just takes way too much time. And it's so much easier to have a simplified form of the content. I'll give you an example of my own. Now at the moment I'm in my A-levels, but I apply the same principles in this video to my A-level work. This is a flashcard that I made for A-level biology. It's section 2.2, talking about mitosis. As you see, there's not a lot of writing on there. I've got quite a detailed diagram of the 5 stages of mitosis, and I have a small explanation on the side. It's not long sentences, it's not paragraphs, it's simple, it's basic, it's to the point, and hopefully it's what's going to be on those mark schemes. I'll turn the page over. I talk about why mitosis is important. Just 3 lines, very simple, not waffling too much. Talking about binary fission in prokaryotes, all of that, basic diagram, basic content. I've highlighted the key terms, which is important as well, but this took me to make, the diagrams are quite complex, so maybe, 25 minutes, but there's some other flashcards, which I'll show you now, like, for example, monomers and polymers, the first topic in A-level biology. This flashcard took me 5 minutes, tiny little diagram, a couple of lines, and that's the whole section covered in one flashcard. So it's easily accessible, easy to look at and learn from, and it took barely any time to make. Next, let's talk about the most important skill to do well in an exam situation, and that is remembering things. You might think, how can I learn to remember anything? Am I really in control of how my brain remembers information? My argument would be yes, because if you understand how the brain learns, you can implement techniques that consider, how it is the brain learns. For example, it is shown very much in the scientific literature that the brain learns through output, not through input. It's a bit of a paradox, because you'd think if you want your brain to learn more things, put more things into your brain. But that's not how it works. If you want to make your brain learn more things, you take things out of your brain and it consolidates what's already in there, if that kind of makes sense. But what that shows us is that revision techniques that input more information, for example, rereading, rewriting, highlighting information, are pretty ineffective, whereas techniques that require us to try and retrieve information from our brain are the most effective. And these are the revision techniques that I focus on when I'm revising, and the ones I think you should focus on while you're revising. There are 3 types that I use. This is blurting, number 1, mental memorization, number 2, and answering exam questions is number 3. Let's talk about blurting. Now, blurting is a horrific word, but it refers to a brilliant revision method. It requires us to basically blurt out all the content that we can remember in one sitting, and then we can go back over and see what we forgot. I'll show you an example of a blurt of mine. Now, this is quite a large piece of paper, so it might be difficult to see all of it, see the detail. But this is a blurt that I did today, actually, earlier, for my psychology topic, the definitions of abnormality. Everything that you see on this mind map blurt in red is what I didn't remember. Everything in black and blue and that's highlighted, I knew off from my memory. This technique is brilliant because it means you can blurt out everything you know and go over it in a different colour pen and add the things that you didn't know. This, 1, makes the brain retrieve information, and 2, shows you the things that you didn't get the first time, which means when I come to look at this topic again, I can think, right, what did I forget? Oh, I forgot that an overall criticism was cultural relativism and that abnormalities differ in different cultures. Well, that can be something that I can focus on when I come to revise this topic again. Next is mental memorization. Right? It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's very helpful. It's sort of like blurting inside your own head. It takes less time, so it's a faster method. I used mental memorization the night before exams and the morning of exams to quickly go through all the information. I take my flashcard on my mind map, and what I'd do is I'd close my eyes and I'd try to envision that flashcard. I'd repeat to myself in my head all of the information there, as much as I could anyway, and then I'd look at the revision resource, and if I'd got it all right, then I knew that it was in my head pretty solidly. And also then you can see the bits that you didn't get on that flashcard are the bits you need to focus on. It's an internal blur, it's a memorization of what is there, what is in your mind. You can see it, and it's also a good way to go through what you know just before an exam. It may sound crazy, but closing your eyes and visualizing everything you can about a topic is a great way to consolidate information in your brain. Lastly, there's exam questions. Hopefully your school provide resources, but there is also loads of resources and past papers online for exam questions for every topic, every exam board, every subject. So basically just do exam questions, because they're the only way that you can have practice of doing the kinds of questions you'll get in your exam paper. And it also is the only way you can see the kind of things the mark schemes are looking for, because specifically with subjects like science, the mark schemes look for specific phrases and specific words in your answers, and once you can do some exam questions, mark them, recognise the words that the exam mark scheme is looking for, you can remember these words to always put them in your answers, and that is a massive help. In other words, it helps you come to terms with the specificity, which is a great word, of the mark schemes. Also, what I would suggest if you're doing exam questions is to do them under time conditions. Again, this is quite stressful and not ideal, but it gives you an idea of how you would do under the exam pressure of time constraints, and you can see, oh, I spent too long on this question, or I didn't spend enough time on this question, and you can prioritise questions, if you're rushed for time, and all of this. It's just a very helpful experience, because really the only way that you can prepare for a full-length exam is by doing a full-length exam. Finally, the last sort of boring note is to understand the concept of spaced repetition. Basically, the brain forgets over time, so you have to remind it of certain things and it's less likely to forget it the next time. All that basically means I can consolidate it into one, note, and that's just go over content quite frequently. And by the way, this is all backed up by learning science. This isn't just, things that I think. This is actually how the brain learns. It learns better with retrieving information and spaced repetition. Now that the boring side of things are out of the way and we've talked about all the brain stuff, let's be a bit more holistic. Let's talk about the whole you that's about to take on this exam. Firstly, it does not matter if you're not a straight A student. No one really cares. I mean, they preach to you in school that the grades you get are really going to affect your future, and maybe they affect the path that you take, but the overall result of your life, the hopefully happiness that you'll find, is not going to be determined by what you get in the exams in year 11. And also, it's potential that you might work so hard but not be a straight A student, and that's fine because you've reached your personal potential. That's all that matters in life. Fundamentally, life's a single player game. We're all here, we have our own levels. We've all been given a certain set of genetics at the beginning of our lives that we can't change. So just try and reach your potential. Don't put your mind set on a specific set of numbers, a specific percentage. Just be who you are, try and reach your potential and work hard, and you'll improve yourself in the process of working hard. Intelligence is not a set thing. You can reach a limit and push it further and further up. There is no end to that potential to be great. Also, academia is not for everyone. I understand that. I know so many people that are really smart and they haven't been able to do very well in academia. It's a specific type of intelligence, and you should not be put down if you're not a very academic person. I'm preaching you, these sweaty academic bum sweat tips, but I understand that, grades really don't matter. It's about who you are, it's about how nice you are to people, it's about how much you appreciate and are grateful for life. So the best advice I can give, taking all that holistic stuff into account, is try to be as little stressed as possible leading up to your exams. Don't let school take over your life. Arguably I did, due to lockdowns and having nothing else productive to do than study. But don't do that. Prioritise your sleep, prioritise your social life, have balance, people, because that's what life's about. Be a happy human and reach goals, move to your goals in a balanced manner. Don't let them take over your life. I wish you the best of luck in your GCSEs or any exams you have coming up, end of topic tests, A-levels, GCSEs, mocks, whatever it is. I wish you the best of luck in your academic endeavours. I feel like I've got decent experience, even though I'm only 17, only done my GCSEs. I think what I did is given me the right to want to share the things that helped me in the process. And yeah, all that's left to say now is that I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you'd like to enjoy the Be an Anomaly movement, then I encourage you to hit the subscribe button down below, and I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day, and I'll see you next time for more.